Fleet Commander Thales could not believe what his sensors were telling him. The human solar system was gone. Not destroyed, not hidden, gone. Where there should have been a star and 9 planets, his instruments now showed absolutely nothing. Empty space. A void. Scan again, he ordered. Full spectrum. Every frequency. His sensor officer, a young Vrexian named Chorus, worked frantically at his console. Commander, I've scanned 17 times. There's nothing there. It's like the entire system was erased from existence. Thales felt something he had not experienced in his 200 years of military service. Fear. Not the healthy caution that kept soldiers alive, but real primal fear. This was wrong. This was impossible. Communications. Contact the High Council. Tell them we have a situation. While his crew worked, Thales replayed the last few minutes in his mind. The human deadline had expired. He had given the order to attack. His fleet had fired. Then, in the instant before the weapons reached their target, reality had simply folded in on itself. A barrier had appeared, shimmering and wrong, surrounding the human system. And when his weapons struck it, they had done nothing. Not bounced off, not been absorbed. They had simply stopped existing the moment they touched that wall. Then the wall had completed itself, sealing like a wound closing, and everything inside had vanished. On Earth, inside the barrier, life continued in a strange new way. Captain Nam Suho stood on the bridge of the defense frigate Unity, watching the barrier through the forward viewport. It looked peaceful from this side. Beautiful even. Like the aurora borealis stretched across the entire sky, but translucent enough to still see the stars beyond. Except those stars were not real. Not anymore. They were recordings, projections. The barrier blocked all light from outside, so Dr. Choi's team had programmed the system to display what the sky should look like. It helped people adjust. Looking up and seeing nothing but white light would drive humanity insane. Status report, Nam ordered. Barrier holding at 100%. His first officer replied. No fluctuations, no weak points. Engineering says it would take the energy output of 1,000 suns to even dent this thing. Nam nodded. He had read the technical briefings. The barrier was not made of matter or energy. It was a fold in space-time itself, a dimensional pocket that separated the solar system from the rest of the universe. Nothing could pass through it. Not matter, not energy, not even information. They were truly alone now. His communication console beeped. Captain, message from Earth. Admiral Park wants a full system patrol report within 6 hours. Tell her we're on it. The Unity's engines hummed to life. Nam set course for the outer system, where the barrier was anchored to massive gate stations hidden in the asteroid belt and on the moons of the gas giants. Someone needed to make sure those gates stayed locked. Back on Earth, in the command center beneath Seoul, Defense Minister Kim Hyun-woo was dealing with a different kind of problem. No, sir. We cannot simply turn it off and try to negotiate, he said into the phone. He was talking to a European Union representative who apparently did not understand the situation. The barrier is not a shield. It's a dimensional wall. Once we open it, we're vulnerable again. And the Empire is still out there, waiting. The representative argued. Hyun-woo let him talk, then repeated himself in smaller words. Eventually, the man gave up. Hyun-woo hung up and rubbed his eyes. It had been 6 hours since the gates closed. Already people were second-guessing the decision. Some politicians wanted to reopen immediately and try to talk with the Empire. Others wanted to keep the barrier up forever. Everyone had an opinion. Nobody seemed to understand that they had just saved the entire human race from slavery or extinction. Dr. Choi entered the command center, carrying a tablet. How many complaints so far? 47 from government officials. 216 from corporate executives. Apparently closing off the galaxy is bad for business. Hyun-woo laughed bitterly. They wanted us to ask the Empire to wait while we discussed trade implications. People fear change more than death, Choi said. He set the tablet on the table. But here's something that might make everyone feel better. Sensor data from the barrier's outer surface. Hyun-woo looked at the screen. It showed heat signatures, electromagnetic readings, and kinetic impact data. Lots of kinetic impact data. Is that what I think it is? The Empire is still shooting at us, Choi confirmed. They've been bombarding the barrier non-stop for 6 hours, every weapon they have, nuclear warheads, antimatter torpedoes, energy beams that could crack planets. Nothing works. The barrier absorbs it all and converts it to waste heat that bleeds into subspace. Can they break through? Not in a million years. The math doesn't lie. They would need to harness the energy of an entire galaxy's worth of stars, focus it all at a single point and sustain it for 100,000 years. Even then, they might just scratch the surface. Hyunwoo allowed himself a smile. So we're really safe. We're really safe. Outside the barrier, the Vrexian High Council was having an emergency session. Thalys stood before them. A holographic projection transmitted across light years of space. The council members sat in their high seats, their stone-like faces carved into expressions of anger and disbelief. "Explain yourself, Commander," said High Counselor Vrex, the eldest of them all. "How does an entire star system simply vanish?" "I cannot explain it, Counselor," Thalys replied. "The humans have technology beyond our understanding. They have created a barrier that exists outside normal spacetime. Our weapons are useless against it. Then use bigger weapons." "We have, Counselor. I deployed planet-killer missiles. They vanished the moment they touched the barrier. I ordered the fleet to fire every weapon simultaneously. The barrier did not even flicker." Another counselor spoke up. "This is impossible. No species we have ever encountered possessed such technology. The humans are primitive. They only achieved faster than light travel 20 years ago. Apparently they were working on something else instead," Thalys said, the council chamber filled with angry muttering. Finally, Vrex raised a hand for silence. "Very well. If the humans wish to hide, let them hide. We will proceed with our other campaigns. Eventually they will have to come out, and when they do, we will be waiting." But Thalys knew the truth. He had been a soldier long enough to recognize defeat when he saw it. The Empire had not been denied. The Empire had been dismissed. The humans had looked at the most powerful military force in the galaxy and decided it was not even worth fighting. They had simply shut the door and gone about their business. That was worse than losing a battle. That was being irrelevant. 3 days after the gates closed, President Yoon Tae-min addressed the people of Earth from the presidential palace. The broadcast went to every screen on the planet. People stopped working to watch. Families gathered around televisions. In the underground shelters, crowds formed around communal displays. Yoon stood behind a simple podium, the Earth flag behind her. She looked tired but strong. "My fellow citizens," she began. 3 days ago, we made a choice that will define humanity for generations. We closed the gates. We shut ourselves off from a galaxy that came to us with weapons and demands instead of peace and friendship. She paused, letting her words sink in. "I know many of you are scared. I know some of you are angry. You did not choose this. Nobody asked your permission. But I want you to understand why we did what we did." On the screen behind her, footage appeared. Alien worlds burning. Cities reduced to ash. Billions of creatures, strange and beautiful, being herded like animals. The footage had come from the Vrexian probe's databanks, evidence of the Empire's crimes. "This is what the Vrexian Empire does," Yoon continued. 428 species conquered, 89 civilizations wiped from existence, trillions dead. The Empire gave us 72 hours to surrender. They offered no negotiation, no diplomacy, no choice, submit or die. The footage changed to show the barrier, shimmering and beautiful against the stars. So we chose a third option. We walked away. We built walls so high that tyranny cannot climb them. And behind these walls we will continue to live. We will grow. We will thrive. Our children will grow up safe. Our cities will flourish, and we will wait. She leaned forward, her eyes intense. We will wait until the Empire learns that some doors, once closed, do not open for threats. We will wait until the galaxy learns that humanity does not bow. And if we must wait forever, then so be it. Because living free behind walls is better than living as slaves in the open. The broadcast ended. In homes across Earth, people sat in silence, processing what they had heard. Some cried, some cheered. But slowly, gradually, they began to accept the truth. They were alone now, but they were safe, and sometimes safety was worth the price of isolation. Captain Nam Suho completed his patrol of the outer system and filed his report. All 7 gate stations were functioning perfectly. The barrier held strong. He set course back to Earth, watching the projected stars slide past his viewport. Somewhere out there beyond the barrier, the Vrexian Empire raged and plotted. Their fleet circled Earth's dimensional bubble like sharks around a steel cage, unable to find a way in. Let them rage, Nam thought. Let them plot. The gates were closed, and they would stay closed until humanity decided otherwise. 6 months passed behind the barrier, and Earth learned to live in its new reality. Colonel Kang Min-seo walked through the construction site on the moon, watching robots and workers build the newest defense installation. It was the 5th one this month. Admiral Park wanted weapons platforms positioned at strategic points throughout the solar system. Not because they expected to use them soon, but because preparation mattered. How's the progress? Min-seo asked the site supervisor. Ahead of schedule, Colonel. We'll have the plasma cannons online in 2 weeks. The missile batteries next month. Min-seo nodded and moved on. The moon had become a military hub, its low gravity making it perfect for launching heavy equipment and ships. Humanity was turning the entire solar system into a fortress, not to attack anyone, but to make sure that when the gates eventually opened, they would be ready for whatever waited outside. Back on Earth in a laboratory in Tokyo, Dr. Hanbora peered through her microscope at something that should not exist: the Vrexian probe. During the barrier activation, one small scout probe had been caught inside when the gates closed. It had been damaged, its crew dead, but its computer systems had survived. The data inside was a treasure beyond measure. "This is incredible," Bora muttered, scrolling through alien files. "They've conquered 428 species. That means contact with 428 different forms of biology, technology, and culture." Her assistant, a young man named Kim Tae-yang, leaned over her shoulder. "What have you found?" "Everything." Bora pulled up a file. "Look at this. The Methrin, a species from a high-gravity world. The Empire enslaved them 200 years ago. They used them as heavy labor, working them to death in mines and factories. The Empire kept detailed records of their biology, probably to maximize work output before they died. That's horrible." "It is. But now we have that knowledge. If we ever meet the Methrin, we can help them. Medicine, technology tailored to their biology. We can give them back what the Empire stole." Bora opened another file, then another. Each one contained information about a conquered species. The Kaldrith, who breathed methane and created beautiful crystalline art. The Sorens, who communicated through color changes in their skin. The Veltrix, whose civilization had lasted 8,000 years before the Empire burned it all. The Empire kept records of everything, Bora said softly. "Every species, every planet, every war crime. They documented their own atrocities. Why would they do that? Pride, maybe. Or bureaucracy. Either way, we have evidence now. When the gates open, when the galaxy has to face what the Empire has done, we'll have proof." She closed the files and removed her glasses, cleaning them slowly. The Empire thought they were unstoppable. They thought documentation did not matter because nobody would ever challenge them. They were wrong. At the United Earth Government headquarters in New York, President Yoon Tae-min sat in a conference room with her Security Council. They met every week to discuss the state of humanity's isolation. "Economic report," Yoon said. The finance minister pulled up a chart. "Surprisingly stable, Madam President. Yes, we lost all extraterrestrial trade, but that was only 0.03% of our economy. We're self-sufficient within the solar system. Manufacturing is up. Employment is at record highs. The isolation has actually forced us to develop technologies we were importing before. What about morale? Better than expected. People were scared at first, but they've adapted. Birth rates are stable. Crime is down. There's a sense of unity now, a feeling that we're all in this together." Defense Minister Kim Hyun-woo spoke next. "We're also seeing benefits from the military buildup. The new shipyards are creating jobs. Research into weapons and defense is producing civilian applications. That plasma cannon technology Colonel Kang is installing on the moon, Engineers have adapted it for mining and construction. Admiral Park Ji-hai appeared on the screen via video link from her orbital station. The fleet is growing faster than projected. We're commissioning 2 new battleships next month. In 5 years, we'll have a proper space navy. Not as big as the Empire's, but advanced enough to be a real deterrent. Yoon listened to each report, making notes. Everything was going better than anyone had dared to hope. Humanity was not just surviving isolation. It was thriving. But one question kept bothering her. What's happening outside? She asked. We can't see through the barrier. We can't communicate with anyone. For all we know, the Empire could be building a weapon to destroy us. Dr. Choi Dae-jung, who was also present, shook his head. Impossible, Madam President. The barrier exists outside normal physics. There is no weapon that can breach it. The Empire could detonate every star in the galaxy simultaneously, and we would not feel a tremor. But what are they doing? That, Choi admitted, I cannot answer. Outside the barrier, the Vrexian Empire was dying. It happened slowly at first. A rebellion here, a protest there, small acts of defiance that the Empire's enforcers crushed without mercy. But then the cracks began to widen. The problem was simple. The Empire's power depended on fear. Their massive fleets kept conquered species in line. The threat of orbital bombardment prevented uprisings. But when Earth had vanished, when the Empire's greatest fleet had failed to conquer a single primitive world, that fear began to evaporate. On the planet Kaldrith Prime, a world of methane breathers and crystalline cities, the local governor received a message from a resistance group. We know what happened at Earth, the message said. We know your fleet was defeated. We know you are not invincible. Leave our world by tomorrow, or we will make you leave. The governor laughed and ordered his soldiers to arrest the resistance leaders. But when the soldiers arrived at the rebel hideout, they found it empty. And the next morning, the governor's palace exploded. The same pattern repeated across the Empire. On Soren, the population simply stopped working. They sat in their homes and refused to obey. When soldiers came to force them, the Sorens resisted. Without their labor, the Empire's factories fell silent. On Velthrix, the survivors of the old civilization emerged from their hidden bunkers, carrying weapons they had preserved for generations. They struck at military installations, destroying supply depots and communication arrays. The rebellion spread like fire through dry grass. The Empire had been strong when it was unified and expanding. But now, with their fleets tied up trying to breach Earth's barrier, they had no resources to spare for putting down revolts. The High Council met in emergency session again. This time, their anger had turned to panic. 17 systems in open rebellion, High Councilor Vrex announced. 34 more showing signs of unrest. Our supply lines are breaking down. Fleet production has stopped because the labor species are revolting. Pull back the fleets from Earth, another counselor suggested. Use them to restore order. And admit defeat? Vrex snarled. Show the entire galaxy that one primitive species forced us to retreat? We already look defeated. The humans made us irrelevant. Every species in the Empire knows it. That is why they are rebelling. The argument raged for hours. Finally, Vrex made a decision. Send a message to Earth. Tell them we are willing to negotiate. The barrier blocks all communication. Then keep trying. Use every frequency, every method. Eventually they will hear us. But inside Fortress Humanity, nobody was listening. 3 years passed. Earth celebrated the anniversary of Gate Day, as people had started calling it. Festivals filled the streets. Children who had been born after the gates closed played in parks, not knowing any reality except this one. For them, the barrier was simply part of the sky, as natural as clouds or stars. President Yoon Tae-min, now in her second term, stood on a balcony in Seoul, watching the celebrations. Fireworks exploded overhead, painting the barrier with brief flashes of color. Dr. Choi stood beside her, older now, his hair completely white. Any regrets? He asked. Some days, Yoon admitted. I wonder what we're missing out there. Other species. Other cultures. The galaxy is a big place. Full of danger. Full of possibility, too. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the happy crowds below. The barrier can open, Choi said. Whenever you give the order, we can see what's happening out there. Maybe things have changed, or maybe they haven't. Maybe the Empire is still waiting, still planning. So we wait longer. Yoon smiled. We wait until we're ready. Until we're strong enough that nobody will ever give us a surrender deadline again, however long that takes. Somewhere in the crowd below, Colonel Kang Min Seo was dancing with his daughter. Captain Nam Suho was eating festival food with his crew. Dr. Han Bora was explaining alien biology to a group of fascinated students. Engineer Lee Soo-jin was taking a rare day off, not thinking about gate maintenance at all. Life went on behind the walls. Humanity grew stronger, and the gates remained closed, waiting for the day when Earth would decide to step back into the galaxy. But not yet. Not yet. The UNS Defiant moved through the darkness of space like a metal fish in an ocean of stars. Captain Hansol sat in his command chair and watched the display screens. His ship was small compared to the other vessels around him. The Galactic Council fleet had battleships and carriers. The Defiant was just a frigate. But it was human, and that meant something. 50 years had passed since humans met alien life. 50 years since Earth learned it was not alone. The galaxy was old and crowded and full of rules. Humans were the newcomers, the young species, the ones who still had much to learn. Lieutenant Bora sat at the tactical station. Her fingers moved across the controls as she monitored the patrol route. Everything was quiet. Too quiet, she thought, but she kept that thought to herself. In the engineering section deep inside the ship, Chief Dae-jung checked his systems. He was a thick man with oil-stained hands and a practical mind. Engineering was his world. Every pipe, every wire, every system on this ship was something he understood. Around him, his crew worked. Engineer Yu Jin was there, a young woman who loved her job more than sleep. She was checking the backup power systems. "Chief, all systems are green," Yu Jin reported. Dae-jung grunted. "Good. Keep them that way." On the bridge, Hansol received a communication. Commander Velthar's face appeared on screen. He was Vraxian, a warrior species with gray skin and sharp features. His people had been fighting in space for 10,000 years. "Captain Hansol, maintain your position in the formation," Velthar said. His tone made it clear he did not think much of human ships. "Understood, Commander," Hansol replied calmly. The communication ended. Bora glanced at her captain. "He treats us like children." "He treats us like what we are," Hansol said. "New to this, we'll prove ourselves when it matters." The moment came sooner than anyone expected. Alarms screamed across every ship in the fleet. Sensor displays filled with new contacts. Ships were dropping out of faster-than-light travel all around them. 30 vessels, 40, 50, they kept coming. "Pirates!" Bora shouted. "Krell Syndicate signatures." The Krell were raiders and thieves. They attacked trade routes and weak targets. But this was a military fleet. Why would they attack here? The answer came in the form of plasma fire. Bright blue bolts of superheated energy crossed the space between the fleets. The battle began. "Shields up! Evasive maneuvers!" Hansol ordered. The Defiant banked hard to the left. Weapons fire passed through the space where they had been. The Council fleet scattered into combat formation. The big ships moved slowly, bringing their heavy weapons to bear. The smaller ships darted around, trying to find good firing positions. The Defiant was one of the small ones. "Return fire all weapons," Hansol commanded. Bora locked onto targets and fired. The Defiant's railguns spat metal slugs at incredible speed. Missiles launched from their tubes. 2 Krell ships took hits and broke apart, their hulls punctured and torn. But the Krell had numbers. They swarmed the Council fleet like insects. Their weapons might be weaker, but they had many ships. Plasma bolts filled space. The Defiant shook as enemy fire hit their shields. "Shields at 80%, Bora reported. Another hit. The ship shook harder. 60%. The battle turned into chaos. Ships twisted and turned. Weapons fired in every direction. The Defiant stayed in the fight, guns blazing. Hansol watched as Council ships took damage. The big Vraxian battleship lost part of its hull to a concentrated attack. A Torvik carrier fell back, trailing atmosphere from multiple breaches. Then the Defiant took a serious hit. A Krell destroyer had gotten behind them. 3 plasma bolts struck in quick succession. The shields flickered and failed. The 4th bolt punched through the hull. "Hull breach on deck 3, someone shouted. "Emergency bulkhead sealing," another voice reported. Dae-jung's voice came through the intercom. "Engineering to bridge. We've got damage. Shield generator is hurt. We're at 40% capacity." Hansol studied his tactical display. Around him, Council ships were falling back. When they took damage, they retreated to safe distance to make repairs. That was the standard procedure. That was what everyone did, everyone except humans. Chief, can you fix it? Han Sol asked. There was a pause. Then Dae-jung's voice came back, and Han Sol could hear the grin in it. Give me 15 minutes. You have 10. Do it while we fight. On the Vraxian flagship, Velthar watched his tactical display. He saw the human ship's shields fail. He saw the damage indicators. The proper response was obvious. UNS Defiant, fall back to repair position, he ordered. Han Sol's response surprised him. Negative, Commander. We're staying in the fight. Captain, your ship is damaged. Follow standard protocol. With respect, Commander, we don't use standard protocol. Velthar's eyes narrowed. Was the human captain insane? Brave perhaps, but bravery without sense was just stupidity. He was about to order the human to retreat, when something on his display caught his attention. Airlocks on the Defiant were opening. In the middle of the battle, with plasma fire filling the space around them, the human ship was opening its doors to the vacuum. What are they doing? His tactical officer asked. Velthar watched in disbelief as figures in spacesuits emerged onto the hull of the human ship. They carried equipment, welding tools, repair kits. They were going outside, while the battle raged around them. This is madness, Velthar whispered. On the hull of the Defiant, Yujin checked her magnetic boots. The metal surface beneath her feet held firm. Around her, space was lit by weapons fire and explosions. The battle was beautiful and terrible. She pushed the thought away and focused on her job. Team 2, move to the breach on the port side, Dae-jung's voice said in her helmet. Team 4, I need you on the shield generator housing. Yujin led her team along the hull. They moved carefully but quickly. Every moment outside was dangerous. Stray shot could kill them. Debris could tear through their suits. But they had work to do. She reached the hull breach. The metal was torn and burned. Atmosphere had been venting from the hole until the emergency system sealed the inner doors. Now she had to seal the outer hull. Beginning repairs, she reported. Her welding torch ignited. The bright flame looked small against the darkness of space. She began to work, sealing the torn metal. Beside her, another engineer applied emergency patches. Behind them, the ship's guns continued firing. Inside the ship, Bora was doing two jobs. She fired weapons at enemy ships, but she was also tracking the positions of every engineer on the hull. She plotted the ship's maneuvers to keep them as safe as possible. When a Krell ship tried to line up a shot at the exposed engineers, she put a missile into its engines. Team 2. Incoming fire from your 3 o'clock, she warned. Moving to intercept. Understood, Yujin said. Her hands never stopped working. 15 minutes passed. Velthar watched the impossible happen. The human repair crews finished their work and retreated back inside their ship. The Defiant's shields came back online, not fully, but they stabilized at 65%. Better than before, the human ship increased its rate of fire. It maneuvered more aggressively. It was not retreating. It was not dying. It was fighting harder than before. Velthar opened a communication channel to the Defiant. Captain Han Sol, how is this possible? Han Sol's face appeared on screen. The human looked tired but determined. We fix things, Commander. That's what we do. Before Velthar could respond, new contacts appeared on sensors. More Krell ships were arriving. The pirates were reinforcing their attack. The Defiant took another heavy hit. The ship shuddered. Damage alarms sounded across every deck. But before Velthar could order them to retreat again, Dae-jung's voice echoed across the open channel. We can fix it, Captain. Just keep us in the fight. Velthar closed the communication. He looked at his tactical officer. Send that data to Fleet Command. They need to see this. Sir, what should the message say? Velthar thought about what he had witnessed. Humans repairing their ship in the middle of battle. Humans refusing to retreat. Humans fighting with a persistence he had never seen. Tell them, Velthar said slowly, that we need to reconsider what we know about human capabilities. Smoke filled the corridors of the Defiant. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Dae-jung ran through the damaged sections with his repair teams following close behind. The ship shook as another enemy blast hit the hull. He grabbed a wall support to keep his balance. Yujin, report. He shouted into his communicator. Port thruster assembly is damaged. Yujin's voice crackled back. We need to reach it from the maintenance tunnel on Deck 4. That section is open to space, Dae-jung said. I know, Chief. We'll use suits. Dae-jung grinned despite everything. The young engineer had courage. Go, take 3 people with you. I'll reroute power to keep life support in the adjacent sections. He switched channels. Bridge, this is engineering. I need firing patterns adjusted. My people need to move through section 12 and it's exposed. Bora's voice responded immediately. Understood, Chief. I'll create a safe window. You'll have 90 seconds when I give the signal. On the bridge, Han Sol gripped his command chair as the ship rolled to avoid enemy fire. His tactical display showed 18 Krell ships focusing on the Defiant. They had noticed what the humans were doing. They were trying to kill the repair crews. Captain, they're targeting our engineers, Bora said. Her voice was tight with concern. Then we make them regret it, Han Sol replied. Focus fire on any ship that aims at our repair positions. Bora's fingers danced across her controls. She was managing weapons, shields, and the safety of the engineers all at once. It was too much for one person. But she was doing it anyway because there was no choice. Outside the ship, the repair crews worked in the most dangerous environment imaginable. Space was cold and empty. One mistake, one moment of carelessness, and they would drift away into the void. But that was not what might kill them. What might kill them was the plasma fire streaking past them like deadly lightning. An engineer named Tae Min worked on the damaged weapon mount. He was tethered to the hull by a safety line. The gun beside him was still firing, the recoil shaking the metal beneath his boots. He ignored it. His job was to repair the mounting bracket that had been bent by enemy fire. This is insane, his partner said over the suit radio. Then stop talking and help me, Tae Min replied. He hammered the bent metal with a special tool. In space, sound did not travel. But he felt the vibrations through his gloves. A plasma bolt passed so close that it lit up his faceplate. He did not flinch. He just kept working. Inside the ship, Yujin and her team crawled through the maintenance tunnel. The walls were hot. Damaged power conduits sparked around them. The tunnel was barely wide enough for a person. They moved in single file, carrying their equipment. Chief, we're at the access point, Yujin reported. Wait for Bora's signal, Daijung ordered. They waited. 10 seconds. 20. Yujin could hear her own breathing inside her helmet. She could hear the muffled sounds of the battle through the hull. Then Bora's voice came through. Window opening. 90 seconds starting now. Yujin kicked open the access panel. The thruster assembly was visible beyond it, damaged and sparking. She pulled herself out of the tunnel and into the space. Her team followed. The thruster was a complex machine. It burned fuel to create thrust, pushing the ship through space. Right now it was only working at 30%. That made the Defiant slower. Slower meant easier to hit. I need a bypass on the fuel line, Yujin said. Her team moved to help her. They worked without wasted motion. Every second counted. On the Vraxian flagship, Science Officer Kira-sun watched the human ship through her sensors. She was Larathi, a species known for logic and calculation. What she was seeing did not make logical sense. The human vessel has sustained 47 hits, she said to her commander. Hull integrity is at 68%. Shield efficiency is fluctuating between 40 and 70%. By all tactical models, they should have retreated 20 minutes ago. Velthar stood with his arms crossed. And yet they fight on. It is irrational, Kira-sun said. I calculate their survival probability at 12% if they continue. Then they are either very stupid or very brave, Velthar replied. Which do you think it is? Kira-sun studied her sensors again. Neither, Commander. They are something else, something we do not have data for. The Krell pirates were equally confused. War Chief Grath commanded the pirate fleet from his flagship. He was a veteran raider who had attacked hundreds of ships. He knew how battles worked. You damaged your enemy until they retreated or died. Simple. But this human ship refused to follow the script. Focus all fire on that frigate, Grath ordered. I want it destroyed. 5 Krell ships turned their weapons on the Defiant. Plasma fire converged on the small human vessel. The shields flared bright with absorbed energy. Then they failed. Direct hits struck the hull. Metal tore. Systems exploded. On the Defiant's bridge, alarms screamed. Hull breaches on decks 3, 5, and 7, an officer reported. Main power conduit is damaged. We're losing power to forward weapons. Han Sol's jaw tightened. This was bad. Very bad. But he had learned something during his years in space. The difference between defeat and victory was often just refusing to accept defeat. Engineering status, he called. There was a long pause. Too long. Then Daejung's voice came through, breathing hard. The main conduit is destroyed. We're running on backup power. Give me 8 minutes, you have 5, and then we better hurry. Dae-jung was already moving. The main power conduit ran through the center of the ship like a spine. It was what carried electricity from the reactors to every system. With it damaged, the Defiant was dying. He led a team into the conduit tunnel. It was hot inside. The explosion had started fires. Automatic systems had put out most of the flames, but smoke still filled the air. The emergency lights flickered. There, Dae-jung pointed. The conduit was torn apart. Cables hung like broken bones. We can't fix this. We need to reroute. His team understood immediately. They began pulling new cables from storage compartments. Heavy cables that could carry enormous power. They worked in the smoke and heat, their hands moving with practiced skill. Above them, the ship was dark. Weapons were offline. Shields were gone. The Defiant drifted like a corpse. The Krell ships moved closer, preparing to finish it. On the Vraxian flagship, Velthar watched grimly. They fought well, he said quietly. For humans, but Kira-sun was staring at her sensors. Commander, I detect movement inside the human ship. Their power signature has not completely failed. Residual energy, Velthar said. No, sir. Active energy. They are doing something. In the conduit, Dae-jung's hands were bleeding. He did not notice. He connected the last cable and locked it into place. Power reroute complete. Activating backup systems now. He pressed a button on his portable control unit. The Defiant came back to life. Lights blazed. Systems hummed. On the bridge, displays flickered on. Han Sol did not waste a second. All weapons fire! The Defiant's guns erupted. The Krell ships that had moved close expecting an easy kill suddenly found themselves at point-blank range with an angry human vessel. 3 ships died in the first volley. The others scattered. Grath stared at his display in disbelief. How? How is that ship still fighting? His tactical officer had no answer. No one did. Yujin finished her work on the thruster assembly. The damaged parts were bypassed. New fuel lines were connected. She tested the system. The thruster roared to life at 90% capacity. Thruster repaired, she reported. Pride filled her voice. Good work, Dae-jung replied. Now get back inside before something kills you. On the hull, Taemin completed his repairs to the weapon mount. The gun was now stable and could fire without shaking itself apart. He gathered his tools and began moving back to the airlock. His partner followed. A Krell ship spotted them. It turned its weapons toward the exposed engineers. Plasma cannons began to charge. Bora saw it on her display. Incoming fire, hull section 4. She did not hesitate. She launched a missile. It streaked across space and detonated against the Krell ship's shields. The blast threw off their aim. The plasma bolts missed the engineers by meters. Taemin and his partner reached the airlock and cycled through. Safe. For now. Velthar contacted the Defiant again. His face appeared on Han Sol's screen. The Vraxian commander looked different now. There was respect in his eyes that had not been there before. Captain Han Sol, your ship should have been destroyed. How are you still fighting? Han Sol wiped sweat from his forehead. He looked tired. His uniform was stained, but his eyes were steady. Commander, my people have been fixing broken things for thousands of years. We're good at it, but in the middle of battle, while under fire, especially then, Han Sol said. That's when fixing things matters most. Velthar shook his head slowly. Your species is either blessed or cursed. I have not decided which. Maybe both, Han Sol replied. The communication ended. Velthar turned to Kira-sun. How many hits has that ship taken now? Kira-sun checked her sensors. 83 confirmed impacts, Commander. And they are still fighting. Yes, sir. It appears survival probability calculations do not apply to humans in the expected manner. Velthar allowed himself a small smile. No, I do not think they do. Han Sol stood on his bridge and remembered something his grandfather had told him. The old man had served on ocean ships back on Earth. Back before humanity reached the stars. He had fought in wars when ships were made of steel and floated on water instead of flying through space. Never abandon ship while you can still fight, his grandfather had said. A ship is not just metal. It is the people who keep it alive. That lesson had been learned over thousands of years. Human ships had always been tools of survival. When ancient humans crossed oceans in wooden boats, they learned to repair damage while still at sea. Because turning back meant death. Going forward meant life. Later, when humans built steamships and aircraft carriers and submarines, the lesson remained the same. You did not retreat to repair. You repaired so you could keep fighting. Airplane mechanics fixed fighter planes between missions while bombs fell around them. Submarine crews patched leaks while enemy ships hunted them in the deep. It was not bravery. It was necessity. Humanity had brought that necessity to space. "Captain, the Krell are regrouping," Bora reported. "They're preparing for another attack." Hansol nodded. "Let them come." "Daejung, how are we looking?" The chief engineer's voice came through the intercom. "We're at 70% capacity. Not great, but we'll manage." On the Vraxian flagship, Admiral Thane Cross had arrived to take command of the Council fleet. He was Torvik, a species that had fought wars for 20,000 years. His 4 eyes studied the tactical display with interest. "Show me the human ship's combat data," he ordered. Kira-san transferred the information to his station. Thane Cross read through it carefully. His expression did not change, but inside he was recalculating everything he thought he knew about warfare. "They have been in continuous combat for 43 minutes, he said. "No other species maintains combat effectiveness for more than 15 minutes after taking critical damage." "The data is verified, Admiral," Kira-san confirmed. "The human vessel repairs damage as it occurs. They do not follow the retreat-repair-return cycle." Velthar approached his admiral. "Sir, I have fought in 72 battles. I have never seen anything like this." Thane Cross turned his 4 eyes to the Vraxian commander. "Because there is nothing like this. Every species in the galaxy follows the same doctrine. We take damage, we retreat to safe distance, we repair, we return to battle. This creates a predictable pattern. But the humans break that pattern," Velthar said. "Exactly. They repair and fight simultaneously. This is not a tactic. This is their culture." Kira-san pulled up historical data on her screens. "I have been studying human history. Admiral, humans evolved on a planet classified as a death world. Everything on their planet tried to kill them. They survived by adapting, by refusing to give up, by fixing what was broken even while danger surrounded them." She displayed images of Earth. Storms, volcanoes, earthquakes, predators. Their planet taught them that retreat often means death. So they learned to hold their ground and adapt instead. Thane Cross studied the images, and now they bring that lesson to space warfare. "Yes, Admiral. The mathematics are significant. A human ship can remain in combat 3 times longer than an equivalent vessel from any other species. They do not retreat until they are truly destroyed." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "This changes everything. If the human fleet adopts this as standard procedure, they will have an enormous tactical advantage, not because their ships are better, but because they use them differently." On a council observation ship, Ambassador Jae-hwan watched the battle. He was human, assigned to explain his people to the curious aliens around him. Several species had sent representatives to ask questions. A Lorathi diplomat spoke first. "Ambassador, why does your ship not retreat?" "It is damaged." "The logical action is to withdraw and repair." Jae-hwan smiled. "Because we do not think retreat is logical. On Earth we have a saying, 'The best defense is not giving up.' But your survival rates decrease the longer you remain in combat," another diplomat said. "In the short term, yes," Jae-hwan agreed. "But if we retreat, we give the enemy time to regroup. We give them confidence. We let them control the pace of battle. By staying and fighting, by repairing while we fight, we keep pressure on them. We confuse them. And confusion leads to mistakes." A Vraxian officer who was listening spoke up. "You make war sound like it is about the mind, not just weapons." "War has always been about the mind," Jae-hwan said. "Weapons are just tools. The real battle is making your enemy believe they cannot win, and nothing breaks an enemy's belief faster than facing an opponent who will not die, no matter how much damage they take." The Krell were learning this lesson the hard way. War Chief Grath stared at his tactical display and tried to understand what was happening. His fleet had the numbers. His weapons were working fine. But that human ship was still there. Still fighting. Still refusing to die. "We have hit them over 100 times, his weapons officer said. "Their hull shows critical damage across multiple sections. But they keep fighting." Grath's mind raced. He had fought many battles. He knew how prey behaved. When you hurt prey, it ran. When you cornered prey, it died. But this prey was not following the rules. Every time he damaged the human ship, they repaired it. Every time he thought he had won, they proved him wrong. It was frustrating. Worse, it was frightening, because if he could not defeat one small human frigate, what did that say about his skills as a war chief? All ships focus fire on the human vessel, he ordered. I want overwhelming force. Destroy them now. 15 Krell ships turned toward the Defiant, their weapons charged. This would be the killing blow. On the Defiant, alarm sounded. Captain, multiple ships targeting us, Bora said. They're concentrating fire. Hansol did not look worried. He looked focused. Evasive pattern delta. Engineering, I need everything you can give me. Daejung was already moving. Rerouting power to engines and shields. You'll have maximum thrust for 90 seconds. Yujin worked beside him, her hands flying over the controls. She was exhausted. They all were. But exhaustion was just a feeling. The work was what mattered. The Krell fired. The space around the Defiant filled with plasma bolts. The human ship twisted and turned, dodging with desperate grace. Some shots missed. Others hit shields that flared and held. Barely. Inside the ship, the crew held on as their vessel danced through weapons fire. It was not elegant. It was survival. Raw and desperate and human. Hansol watched his display. He was not just dodging. He was thinking ahead. The Krell were putting everything into this attack. That meant they were grouping together, making themselves a bigger target. Bora, I need firing solutions on their cluster. Captain, if we fire, we'll have to drop shields for 3 seconds. I know. Do it on the Vraxian flagship. Thane Cross leaned forward. What is he doing? Velthar understood. He is going to attack while they attack him. He is insane. No, the Admiral said slowly. He is brilliant. The Defiant stopped dodging. For 3 seconds it flew straight. Its shields dropped. Every weapon on the ship fired at once. Missiles, railguns, energy beams, everything. The concentrated firepower hit the Krell cluster. 5 ships exploded instantly. 3 more were crippled. The survivors scattered, their formation broken. But the Defiant paid a price. Without shields, enemy fire struck directly. The ship's hull tore open in multiple places. Systems failed. Smoke filled corridors. Daejung's voice was tight with strain. We've got major damage. Decks 4 through 7 are venting atmosphere. Reactor containment is fluctuating. Can you fix it? Hansol asked. There was a pause. Then Daejung laughed. It was a tired, half-crazy laugh. Can I fix it? Captain, just tell me what you need this ship to do and I'll make it happen. That was the human way, Hansol thought. You did not ask if something was possible. You asked what needed to be done and then you found a way to do it. Yujin led repair teams through the damaged sections. They wore environment suits because the atmosphere was gone. They worked in vacuum and smoke and sparking electrical fires. They patched holes and rerouted systems and refused to stop. Kira-sun recorded everything. Her logical mind struggled to process what she was seeing. By every calculation, the human ship should be dead. The damage was too extensive. The systems were too compromised. But the humans did not care about calculations. They cared about results. She spoke into her recorder. Observation. Human combat doctrine is based on adaptive persistence. They do not measure success by avoiding damage. They measure success by continuing to function despite damage. This is fundamentally different from all known species approaches. She paused, then continued. Note, this doctrine requires exceptional crew training and morale. The humans must trust their repair systems absolutely. They must have confidence that damage can be fixed. This level of trust suggests deep cultural conditioning. Further study required. Admiral Thane Cross turned to his staff. I am sending a report to the Council. Human vessels should be reclassified. They do not fit our existing combat categories. What classification do you suggest, Admiral? An officer asked. Thane Cross thought about what he had witnessed. Ships that would not die, crews that would not quit, a species that had learned survival on a death world and brought those lessons to the stars.